Hey Teddy, got Teddy in the room. I think some people have got comms saying that this session starts Thursday at 6:30. How weird. But another person attended. Hey Sabrina. Nice. We're just gonna give it a couple minutes, guys, for people to tune in. Wherever you are, whether you're playing this later or watching it after.
Pretty average weather in the north. I don't know about everyone in the rest of the country.
It's breezy, but like you can see blue skies, which is great.
We'll take that. There's no grey and there's no blue here. North of Birmingham, so it doesn't happen often.
Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to another Lunch and Learn at the Purposeful Project. Today's session is all around how to budget like a boss. We have the co-founders of Financielle with us today. They're going to be leading us through a workshop. It's a very intimate class today, but for those of you that are watching back, I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm going to pass over to Holly and Laura, who are both co-founders of Financielle, to lead. I think, Holly, you're going to be starting us off, I believe. So if you take it away, we'll see you at the end of the session.
And so it's so nice to be here, BJ and Talia. Thank you for having us. And this is one of our most exciting sessions. We love doing Budget Like a Boss. And if we wind back and I just tell a little bit of story and give you a little bit of context, because business is about storytelling. And I think we all need to find our own story that we want to tell. Holly and I did not wake up one day and say, let's start a business doing this. So we help people take control of money and be financially well, but it doesn't happen in that order. Financielle started off as an Instagram page, as many businesses do. And I think what's really important when you're starting a business is finding your place and finding your people. So businesses, customers should be at the heart of our business, and you should be obsessed with your customer, who they are, what they like to drink, where they like to eat, who their friends are, how they're feeling. And what social media has done is help to connect us with like-minded people and or with customers. So the way our Instagram page started 2 years ago was because of the concept of niches. So hashtags on Instagram. So you can do hashtag couch to 10K, couch to 5K even. You can do hashtag Prada. You can do hashtag anything, and you can find people that like that thing as well. And that was my story. So I started a personal finance Instagram after finding money content online that was what I was interested in. A long time ago, I was not great with money, would have too much month left at the end of my money and an okay salary, and just it was a bit of a mess. And so I knew I had to get my shit together. So I devised a plan and a process that helped me work it one at a time. And I actually did really well with my finances, managing it as a single mother on my own, working my way through to the point where everyone would then come to me for financial guidance in my life. Went to Instagram and found this community of people that are financially interested, personal finance, wanting to get debt free, interested in money saving, interested in investing. And I was like, I have found my people, and started the Instagram page. And it just grew from there, because what you can do with a place like Instagram is you can test out thoughts and ideas. And that's what we did. And in the end, we realized actually there's a massive customer need. So the biggest thing when you're thinking about setting up a business or like improving your existing business, it's about what is the customer need you're meeting. And we were meeting this need of cutting through the mess and the overwhelm in the money space and making money simple for people, and then giving them a step-by-step plan to follow. And there wasn't that anywhere else. And we found great success with that on the Instagram page. So then we kind of sat down and thought, actually, this could be a business. So firstly, we built a product, and I'll talk about that in a little bit in terms of how you can do that cheaply and effectively. And then we tested that out and we realized that it worked. And so Holly and I sat down one day and was like, okay, we should do this as a job. We should do this as a business. We should launch it. But we both had jobs at the time. And the key to us then deciding to take that leap and set up our business was making sure that Holly and I were financially well. if we were in a situation where we didn't know what money we needed to survive, we do both have children, thankfully none are on screen right now because you'd know about it, but we've got 2 children each, a household to run, cars, mortgages. You can't just recklessly go, right, I'm going to go start a business. So we knew that we had to be financially well. So we had this long game out, which is, okay, when's the moment that we will leave and start our business? And it all comes down to your personal finances and keeping your expenses as lean as possible, and possibly leaner than you would be on a normal money journey, because you're sacrificing for something bigger, which is building your own business. So on a personal level, we both decided to make sure we saved up 6 months expenses as a family. So not savings, but say your outgoings are $1,000 a month, we would save 6, and that's in our back pocket. And then we made sure our expenses were at a level that we actually can take very little money from the business, or a part-time job would help us out if we were really struggling, so that we could grow it and grow it and grow it. So Holly and I did that. We got to a position where we could launch the business that we really wanted to, but we didn't have massive extra financial pressure. We are not from wealthy backgrounds. We do not have any investors. We are not backed by anyone. We just did it the most simple way. And the other thing, and we'll talk about it in a minute, is we were scrappy. So we got some great advice from a COO of a massive, massive beauty business who said, be scrappy. Don't think you have to have it perfect, and don't think you have to have it all figured out. So the reason I tell that story is we have done that, and we've been in your position where you want to start a business, but money is a blocker. Now, on some levels, in some businesses, you may need investment, and it's very, very easy to say, oh, just, bootstrap. But the point is, in your early stages, you're meant to be testing things out anyway, and you shouldn't be dropping loads of money on stock that you're not quite confident will sell. And you shouldn't be dropping money on advertising if you've not been able to do organic advertising first. And it really makes you ruthless with your money. So the best bit about taking control of your money is it freeing you up to be able to do things like building your dream business. And that's what we're going to walk through today. The Budget Like a Boss that you all got sent beforehand, or if you're watching this back later and you don't have it, you can get it off the Purposeful Project website, is a simple PDF that we'll run through a little bit today to give you a context of how you can kind of try and take control of that money and influence the business that you're going to build. And the first thing to think of is, if you're going to start a new business, is what do you need? And that's about getting a pen and a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be Excel spreadsheet. I think the PDF's got some places you can write that in. But thinking, okay, what do I need to start this business? And it depends on the business. So if we're thinking like a retail business, you have to think about things like premises and bills and rates. And you have to think about things like stock, if it's a physical business, and what that costs. And you have to think about things like staff, like if you're going to need staff because it's a business that you couldn't physically do on your own, you have to work out staff costs. And what we call in this is being serious about modeling it. So in a big multi-million-pound business, there's models left, right, and center. So models are basically financial projections and a document where you guess, with a very, very educated guess, what you think things are going to cost to run a business. So a model can be very, very sophisticated with tons and tons of Excel spreadsheets with multi-million-pound departments going left, right, and center, or it could be a piece of paper. And we say with every big financial decision that you're going to make, model it out. So if you, I won't share screen, but because it's not detailed enough to be needed. But if you look in the PDF, there's a launch budget, and this is a real good way of thinking what you need to launch. And there's the 2 versions of this budget. There's the startup launch budget, and then there's the startup survive budget. So when you work through this launch budget, what we want you to do is think about squeezing it. So when you do it first and you go and find all your different prices, so how much does it cost to rent a stall or a retail store or a pop-up or whatever? How much does it cost to do that? How much does it cost, the going rate for wages, and how flexible do you need to be? What insurances do you need? Go and look and do the legwork and go on these websites. It's so easy to find the costs and prices of all the different things and come up with a total. You can even speak to branding and marketing agencies and ask them what they would charge to do X amount of a new website, or branding and social media activity for you. Get it all down, because before you get it down, you have no idea how much it's going to cost to launch this business. And there's something about putting pen to paper and finding out the figures that brings it to life that little bit more. The next challenge that Holly and we did this, is you sit down there and you go, can we squeeze it? Because squeezing it means a bit like a lemon, squeezing everything you can out of it. And what you don't want is a launch budget to be so big that it stops you from doing it. You don't want that. So what can we do to remove obstacles to get you just started? One of the biggest phrases you hear in entrepreneurship is just start. And it can be scrappy and it can be perfect. And, we've launched, what's going to be a very big business off the back of a PDF on a website, and you can overthink it. And we nearly didn't release it because we were like, oh, it shouldn't be a PDF, like it's going to look a bit rubbish, and what will people think, and it's not quite perfect, and what if someone steals it and resells it? Like, we overthought everything. But when we finally got it out there, it helped so many people. And that one PDF, that one decision to build something to test it, has now meant that we've got a community of 37,000 people all wanting to do better with money. So try and think, what's the least slither, what's the least line of thing that I need to put out there to get this thing started, and more importantly, to test traction. Because the other really important lesson that you have to accept is, you may have a great idea. We all can sit in our heads and come up with this great idea. But sometimes the last people we ask are the people that are going to be our customers. So having the confidence and conviction to go on out in the street, or not just to your friends, because your friends will all like your idea, but they'll never buy from you. So don't just go to your friends. But the confidence to ask people questions about, especially your target audience, your product, even before it's even built, can give you so much value. And firstly, it might tell you that it's probably not a great idea, or that it's done in the coffee shop on the corner, or that actually, do you know what, in that particular niche that you've told me about, this is missing and I would buy this. So that what you can do with this launch budget is just look at it and go, what's the least that I need? And there's some things that are just, you're going to absolutely physically need. But there's ways that it doesn't have to be done completely professionally, because we'll all laugh at the first logo, we'll all laugh at the first website. And on that note, what you can do with each one is take the price and go, okay, can I do better? So for example, you've got Squarespace and Wix.com and GoDaddy. You can create landing pages in minutes, designed by people that do it for a living, and then just change the logo around a little bit. Your logo, our logo is Roboto, which is a very, very well-known text font, lowercase with a full stop. It changed colors a couple of times. It is what it is. Holly, you've got a t-shirt. Show us your t-shirt or your hoodie. You've got your t-shirt on. It's like literally, maybe some impressive designer at some point will come on board and improve it for us. And I can't wait for that day. And don't get me wrong, Holly every day says she wants a designer, because you paying someone for their knowledge and their expertise, and we'll get there. But right now, what's a nice to have and what's an absolute necessity, and investment in tech and a little bit of extra writing support is more important for us. So go through this list and do that. And then the other thing is, this launch budget, you can also split it into phases. So you can have a bit of a pre-launch. In tech world, we call it beta. So you can even have launch A and launch B. And launch A is this real stick up a landing page, offer a product for sale, and join the waiting list, set up an Instagram page and promote that, and see if people click. If people click, that's a product people want. If no one clicks it, maybe you save yourself a bit of time and you need to tweak and do something else. And this is what is the easiest thing to kind of hear and think about, but the hardest thing to do, because what we want, we're all perfectionists. You want to get something absolutely perfect. But what you realize in business, it's about survival and about tweaking and pivoting as you go along. So your launch budget is the thing that I also think, if you rush out and get a business loan, it doesn't feel like real money. So there's nothing wrong in principle with business loans. What we don't like is people, getting into debt or running and asking someone, I've got a business idea, but I need 10 grand. And you're not going to put anything into it. And you've not had it tested, and you've not got proven concept, and you've not got customers, but you're asking people for money. actually the best way around to do it is to put some of your own money in first, or we call it sweat equity. So, start with 100 quid, and can you turn that into 500 quid, and can you turn that into £1,000? And then people are going to listen to you and go, actually, I want to back and invest in this thing that you want to build, because whilst you've not got the capital, which means cash and money, you've got the drive and conviction, and you've got the ability to. So the problem with running straight to getting a loan for a business is I don't think we're as likely to squeeze that budget, because I think it's not real money, then it's business money. And I've got a 10 grand loan and I must spend 5 on a website for a product that you've not proven yet. So this is what we want to really, really focus on when we talk about this way, is just mindset of bootstrapping your way is one of the most effective, if a little bit painful, ways of getting to a point where you're comfortable within what you're building, and you're as what's called lean as possible. A really good book actually is The Lean Startup. It usually is in here actually. It might be at your house now, isn't it, Hull? The Lean Startup's a really, really good book. There's some really good summaries of it if you're not a book reader and you don't fancy going all the way through. But it's about this: what's the least thing we can get, and then you call ship it. And so I'm trying to think of different example businesses with this, but the web makes it so easy to build digital businesses. It's a little bit harder to build product-based businesses, but you can start with small launches. You could do a pop-up bookshop or a pop-up physical launch. Someone's ringing me, sorry, I'll turn it off. And again, this is about testing your theory, bringing some income in, putting it straight back in the business. And so that's the biggest thing about launch businesses is that launch budget is write your budget down, squeeze it, challenge yourself. Can you get it as lean as possible? So the next mini part in the Budget Like a Boss ebook focuses on your survival budget. And this is again, not your personal budget yet. We'll do that in a minute, and we're going to really crack some bits in that. But when you've got your launch budget, which is the pot of money I need to save to start this business, your next one is, how do you keep the business going? And the biggest thing that you'll probably hear is things like cash is king. It really is. And what that is you need to have enough money in the business to keep it going. So this spreadsheet is a really, really useful guide to start putting down what the monthly costs are going to be. So for example, in our business, we use a social media scheduler. We have a community software that costs some money every month. We have accounting software. We have Amazon Web Services monthly fees. We then, those are kind of like the monthly ones. We have like mini salaries baked in for us as and when we decide to pay ourselves. And then we have ad hoc costs, like we may have an event, or we may have travel, like when we come to London, which we try and do quite a bit. For us, it's £200 to £300 every time we come down to London. And so that needs to be baked into our budget. What's the least possible budget you need to run this business? And then it. And being able to, again, look at that and squeeze it. So if you've got staff in that survival budget, which is every month, how many hours do you need them? Could you be a bit more flexible? Could you scale up and get extra workers if you have a big launch or a big sale, or you do really well, but scale back down if because you're only a startup, you're not absolutely flying with sales. But having a handle and a knowledge on that, what that monthly fee is needed to run your business, is really important for having control of it. Because those of you that are driven by sales and numbers as well, you can work out a couple of things. You can work out things like your break-even point. So what's the point that you need? How many sales of your thing do you need to cover your basic costs? And when you know that, it's just a much more manageable and smaller number. As it gets bigger, when you want to grow, you work out, okay, if I was to hit a sales record of this, what would the difference be? And it just kind of encourages you. But knowing what you have to have before you start going to things like overdrafts or needing credit cards and stuff is such a great, strong position. So knowing that, again, some of you may be in a position where you're already running a business and you want to optimize the finances in it, or some of you are thinking about launching a business. This is like a great exercise that you can do to know where you're at. The final bit, and probably the bit that we think it's most important, and one of the big quotes we have in the ebook is the Gary Vaynerchuk one. So it's one that says, like, the amount of people who have a job they hate to buy things they don't care about to impress people that don't scares the shit out of me. I won't swear too much, but he basically says we're so obsessed in our personal lives with spending to keep up with the Joneses that we're just mindlessly spending our money. And that could be this. That's why for some people, that's why they're working. They're dreaming of building a business. They're dreaming of taking a product to market to fit a need. But they're in this merry-go-round of car finance here and going out with the girls and the boys and must look a certain way. And all that takes money. And I think, Simon, a lot of what he talks about is that will come. But if you really, really want to focus on building a business, if you put your energy into that and care more about that rather than what people think, the money will come later because it'll come from your passion, it'll come from your success. And part of the way that we can support people to manage their money better is working off a budget. And budget can be a dirty word, but actually budget is a very freeing tool that you can use to make decisions in your life about what's important to you. The other important thing about a budget is budget can be as big as you want. Like, people think budget's a dirty word. They think it's controlling, or it's about frugality, or it's about cutting things. This country runs off a budget. It's like a multi-billion pound budget. Companies run on budgets. This should be a thing that we use as a framework to spend, not as something that is intimidating and makes us feel like we have to cut things. So the reason that a budget is then extra important for if you're thinking about starting a business is your budget the thing in the way of you doing it? Are you thinking, I will in the future build a business when? And I don't know how old some people are watching this, but I'm in mid-30s, and I should have done it by now. I wish I'd have done it ages ago. I wish I'd have known this a lot sooner. Getting control of your money early on gives you options. It gives you options. I mean, some people call it FU money, which means I'm in control and I don't need this job to do X. It might be that you decide to leave a job that's well paid to start a business that you're really passionate about, and you actually get paid less, but you may end up being in a more powerful financial position. One, because you're building an asset, because a business is an asset. But two, it's not about the money. If you can afford to put a roof over your head and buy some nice food and treat your friends and give and invest a bit in your future, what else do you need? Whereas some people earn hundreds of thousands of pounds a year and they spend it. So it's not actually about the ultimate income number, especially when you're in the early startup days and you're trying to just get by. Knowing what you need to survive on and knowing that's as small as it can be is really, really empowering. So I'll talk to you a little bit about we have a product called the Financielle Playbook, and the budgeting method is based on this method. And the method's based on like a P&L. So if you're going to be running a business, or if you run one already, you'll know about a profit and loss account. So the way we calculate a profit and loss account is income at the top, what comes in, and then expenses, so all the different elements that come out, and then your profit is what's left over. So we like to take that for our budgeting method and we call it an excess. And the reason we do that is we want to incentivize you to make that excess as big as possible. So what comes in versus what goes out is what is left over. And the different ways that you make that excess grow is two ways, really. You increase your income, and that's income into the household. So if you share finances, it's not just one of you, and it's expenses. So we take the view that just if you, like I think it's on page 7 or 8 of the PDF, there's a personal expenses budget sheet that you go line by line and you understand what expenses you have. So the best way to do it is like take your bank statement. It's the first port of call for anyone that hasn't done a budget before, and you walk through step by step. So usually one of the biggest expenses for people is their mortgage or rent, and let's write that down. And there's a column for current costs. So there's category current cost and new cost. In fact, I might even be able to share, because I do have it's a screen sharing is disabled, but it's fine. I'll just walk through it because we're not going to be going through it step by step. But rent and mortgage is going to be your biggest one. Let's get that one on there. Go for your bills next. So anything that's a direct debit, so things like your utilities, your council tax if you pay it, broadband, any other kind of like subscriptions, Netflix, Spotify, anything that's fixed kind of goes at the top of the budget. So that's usually all your direct debits, and put all those in. The next mini set of expenses that are actually quite important in your personal finances, and we don't always include them. We call them sinking funds. So a sinking fund is a pot of money that you put to one side for an expected expense. It's not an emergency fund that's done separately. It's not a backup. It's not a savings pot for just kind of, oh, I'd like a car one day. A sinking fund is, look, every year this expense comes up. It might come up every month, or it might come up once in a while, and I need to put it aside into a pot of money. So examples of sinking funds are Christmas. So Christmas, is a big time for lots of people. There's usually events, and there's presents, and there's clothes needed, and there's food needed, special food maybe. And what you can do is put £100 a month aside for Christmas, and we would call that your sinking fund. So you could put 100 in your budget, and every month move it to a pot, and later when you're ready to use it. Other sinking funds examples are car insurance. If you pay for that annually, it could be car maintenance if you own your own car, and it will break, not when and if, it will. So if you need new tires or you need an MOT. Also it could be things like clothing. So you may only shop for clothing 3 or 4 times a year. So if you could put this money into a side account, say £50 a month or £100 a month for clothing, let it build up, and then when you're ready to use it, you can go use it. And most of the challenger banks have really good software for sinking funds. So we use Starling, but if you use Starling, Monzo, Revolut, any of the better banks for technology have these sinking pot functionalities. And so what you do is you include it in your personal expenses on a monthly basis, but the monthly amount. And on payday, you move that money out and get it in the background for later. And the good thing about sinking funds is sinking funds helps you prepare for the expenses that we would use to shove in a credit card, because the best thing to do when you're building a business is stay out of debt, stay out of consumer debt, because it adds to your expenses and it adds to your stress and anxiety when you're meant to be freed up to building this really cool purpose-driven business. So sinking funds are absolute godsend. We love them so much. And then the last bit of your budget is your flexible expenses. So these are things like food, eating out, coffees. Giving could be flexible. The amount may change every month. It's up to you, but who you give it to might also change. So you don't have a direct debit going out. You would just have a pot of money for it. So these groceries, petrol, fuel, if you drive a car, travel could be flexible, because unless you have like a season ticket for the tube or whatever, you might pay ad hoc. That's in your flexible. And the best way to kind of guess what should be in your budget is go to your bank statements and look in a given month, what on average did you spend on that, and put that in, and see where you get. But by knowing all these, so the column's got 2 columns, current cost and new cost. If you put all this in current cost, you've got a starting point. You've got what we call a baseline, which is something to go at. And so if you add up what your income is and what your current outgoings are, you should have an excess. Some people have a negative excess. It's not something to be ashamed or stressed about. Usually when we show people how to incorporate sinking funds into your budget, it sends people into a negative excess. And I used to say to people, that's why you use debt. That it's not, you don't usually go into debt for things like normal expenses. It usually is, oh my God, the car insurance is due, the holiday's due, we've got a big car, like the car tires have gone, I'll just put out my card. That's kind of unexpected expense that sets the budget off track. So the budget would balance if you didn't have sinking funds, but when we put them in, it suddenly makes you go, oh my God, like I would be sending all that money into a side pot. So it gets a little while to get used to. And honestly, sinking funds made me an adult and made me a grown up. I hated them at first, but they are an absolute godsend. And I tell you what, they're a godsend when you own your own business, because if something happens with a car, or if there's a family holiday planned, or if you need to, Christmas is coming up, you're thinking, I'm trying to build a business, but I want to get like my friends and family some gifts. You've planned that. It's just literally the weight off your shoulders just goes, and you can just go all in on your business. So you will go and you will do your current cost. And so work through line by line. We actually have a YouTube video that goes, I think, line by line through it. So if you watching this and wanted it a little bit more in depth, we have free content on YouTube that literally goes through what was our spreadsheet and takes it through line by line. But the next thing to do, again, like you did with your business budget, is squeeze it, because And I think I'm going to be a bit more harsher on you because you've got a goal and you've got a dream to build a business. Usually when people are doing their budget with us, it's because they just want to get control of their money. And maybe they've got a goal, maybe they want to buy a home and they want to save up a housing deposit, or maybe they've got debt and they're going, I'm sick of it, I want to be debt free. Maybe it's because they want to start investing in a pension and at the moment they don't, or they don't enough. And so they want to get a handle on their money. But when you're doing it like because you want to build a business or because you are running a business, really you should be harsher on yourself and you should be going at it a bit more aggressively, because it's for a period of time. The view is that the business will grow and this sacrifice early on will pay dividends. That being said, budgets are tight, especially if you're living in central London, for example. We have so many members of our community that we work with a little bit differently, because it's not like for like. People come at things from different points of view. People need to use public transport. People have higher costs of living. And so we need to go as tight as we can whilst being as well as we can. And that's your task really with the new cost column in the Budget Like a Boss PDF, because you can go through line by line and go, how can I squeeze this? Now, actually, I've just thought, Holly, we usually tell people about the money MOT, which is free, but we've put the money MOT into our free app. And the money MOT is a 30-step guide to being financially well. And it goes through your budget. I think there's 30 steps. The first one's income, and it makes you, it forces you to go in each area and how you can make that tighter. So for example, rent or mortgage, it will go through things like, if you have a mortgage, do you want to rent a room out? Do you know that you can rent a room out for $7,500 per year and that's tax free? Or have you thought about going for a house share if you're renting rather than going for, one on your an apartment to yourself, because you can split bills and split food and have company and it cuts your costs. So it goes line by line. Energy is a big one right now. So when you get to the energy section, obviously it's all over the press about energy crisis. It's a non-controllable for us. There's an energy cap and it's been raised and it's probably going to be raised again next year. So utilities is probably one of the ones that you used to be able to shop around on, but that one you may not be able to. So that's our job really, to find that in other areas. How can you squeeze each line of your budget bit by bit and keep that balance where you don't compromise on how well you feel, but you can deliver a return in your budget, because don't forget, what you end up with at the end is what you put towards your business and yourself and your future self. The other important thing to think about when you think about a business, and it's something that Holly and I are very passionate about, is you can't forget about pension. A pension is deemed to be a boring and a dirty word. And the only thing I want you to think about with pension is, if you are building a business and it's for a couple of years and you don't put money into a pension, it's not the end of the world. If you never think about putting money aside for the future, as a business owner, you're holding yourself back versus someone in employment. So just be mindful of it. A pension, when you're a business owner, can be a personal bill. It can just be a bill like your gas and electric or like your council tax. It doesn't need to be a large amount of money at first. If you're really, really struggling, it can be as little as £1 a month with some of the providers, and it can be $400 a month if you got a bonus one month. You don't have to set up a really big monthly direct debit, but really, as a business owner, don't forget about your pension, because you don't want to be worrying about things like that. You want everything else to be simple so that you can focus on building your business. So that's really the end-to-end working through the budget like a boss. Like we said, the three most important areas are knowing what you need to launch, really criticizing yourself about critiquing yourself about, do I need all that to start? Because some of that could be just you hiding behind, oh, well, and then when I've got a website, I'll launch. And when I've got 45 different stock items, I'll launch. Or when I've got a really good logo, I'll launch. Whereas actually, the DIY Canva and Wix and GoDaddy stuff is more than capable of helping you prove a concept. And the second one is to understand your business budget. So what are the monthly costs? And all, especially for digital stuff, it's all freely available. For employment stuff, it's all freely available. You should be able to find what your business budget, your monthly budget would be. And then lastly, your personal expenses are key to all this, because really, like, money is the reason that we work. Ultimately, in terms of the exchange for value, so we give our time in exchange for money. What are we doing with that? And are we putting towards things that help us? And if we're looking to launch a business, are we willing to be brave for a period of time and squeeze it, knowing that later or once in a while, you can relax it and flex up? And hopefully joining those 3 budget concepts together, you should feel more financially well and more in a position of strength to conquer it and take it on. I was just going to show you quickly, because I won't share screen, but I've realized because I've been testing our app, I've been logged into, I don't know if you've got yours handy, Holly. I'm just trying to log in.
What would you like?
I was just going to show how the 3 budget, the 3 stages of the budget. In fact, I've managed to get into mine, I think. Oh, my glamorous assistant will pass me on. So this is the Financielle app, but I'm just going to take you straight to the budget to kind of show you how it works, because you can do this on a spreadsheet, you can do this on a piece of paper, you can do it in an app. But every month should be different. So when you're doing a personal budget and a business budget, even though there's some statics in your fixed area, it's not always the same. So this is, if you think about what I said before, I said your income, your expenses, and it gives an excess. And your excess, if you look on the budget one, for example, we had a 700 excess, but when we tracked it, this test one, it's showing that we probably overspent. And so we ended up in a minus, and that's how people get into debt. But I would just show you what that looks like in a more sophisticated list. This is how I want you to envision your budget, and you can build your budget like this using the PDF that we've sent out. So think about all your different income streams. Think about all your fixed expenses using your bank accounts and your direct debits. Think about your sinking funds. Now, I've tapped sinking funds because this is something new that we've introduced to you, so I don't want it to seem brand new. Look, there's a home and garden fund, 100. This probably means that for this budget, this person puts 100 a month in their budget line, and on payday, they transfer it over to a Starling space or somewhere where they can't see it, maybe with a pretty little picture of a home and garden, so that when you want to, fix the roof leak that's happened, or the plumber has to come round, the money is sat there, it doesn't panic you. Also, travel funds, it's a really good way to put money into travel without having to compromise or whack it on a credit card or think that you can't go. Same with car maintenance. It's very freeing as a business owner when you've got these little pots of money that can start small as well. It doesn't have to be a lot, and it can just build up. And then the flexible expenses. So if we look at flexible here, there's different things like clothing, pension, fund money. Putting them in and giving them a line in your budget can help you manage it later. And then, like I said, if we've got to update, just so you can see this homepage again, this is how you would run your business, income, expenses, profit. In the way we do personal budgets, it's income, expenses, and excess. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful on some level to help people manage a budget. Do you think there's anything, Holly, that I have missed?
No, I don't think so. I think Talia sent everyone the Budget Like a Boss ebook, so you can look through that and work through it at your own pace. And obviously, if you want to download our app, of which you can get access to the budgeting tracker in there, the Financielle Playbook, from a personal point of view, and how to handle your finances, that's just another way of which to win with money, I suppose. So you can find it, just put Financielle in the App Store and you'll be able to find it there. It's on Google and Android. So yeah, I think that's it.
Does that go okay, BJ and Talia, for you guys at the Purposeful project? Hopefully.
Yeah, that's perfect, Laura. Thank you so much. It's been very informative, and everyone, there will be a recording up on our website in the next couple of days and a blog, and we'll put some sound clips up on our socials, and we will send everyone an update in the next couple of days with the recording link.
I think that's it. That's the end of the session. Thank you, everyone.
Don't worry, we're going to be checking your budget, BJ.
I look forward to it.
Sinking fund.
Yeah, is your facial in a sinking fund?
Absolutely.
Now everyone knows.
It's part of my play fund, actually. Gift and play. Every month you should have like 10% just so you play, because otherwise you're just working to live.
Love it.
One of the biggest things I've learned. And how about you guys? What's in your gift and play?
So I call it fun money, and I have a giving one, and I love the giving one because we change it every month. So if you meet someone with that's raising money for something that in that moment you want to give, or if someone like on the street could do with a bit of extra help, it's just guilt free. The minute that's gone in your budget to gift and play, I guess it's gone. Like, it's not for a bill, it's not for anything other than in this moment I choose it. So I don't know, Holly's been to so many gigs in September. I'm hoping her play fund was for music.
My play fund was huge this month and I enjoyed every single bit of it.
Love it, because life is for living.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you so much for having us, and happy to help.
Bye everyone.
Bye.